This is Chris Mertz with Life Support. I'm just gonna hit like three topics here. Why the channel was created, a little bit about myself, and what the purpose of the channel is. So I'm just gonna kind of say that I may get emotional a little bit during this because we're touching on things that are very that are still kind of raw. When you have a wound, and it's starting to heal, it's you could you know break it back open. So these are very tough personal topics, and I really haven't disclosed my personal life and experiences with people that are not inside my circle. Um, but anyways, and I also may not be looking at the camera. I'll be looking around because I'm processing and thinking of things that I haven't thought about in a very long time. So anyways, to the page. So this will be a conjoined page. I want you to check out my buddy John Casey. He is street psychologist with Dr. J. I don't think his channel is up and running right now, but it will be soon. I'm going to help him out with that. I don't know, guys. Let's just kind of dive in. So I had an idea last December, to just create a page because I would say like the last 13 months of my life have been a roller coaster. There have been drastic changes in my life. Um, you know, I've had a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Luckily, I've remained sober. I've been sober for a little over 2.5 years. And we'll get to that later in the stream. But I had a lot going on. I was dealing with depression, some manic stuff going on where I would stay up for a couple of days and just kind of lose my mind. A lot of stress, tons of stress. But I got through it with the help of friends, and I was able to just overcome it and get through it. And so, just recently, last 3 months, I've been looking for a new place to live, and so I just moved into a new apartment in a small, quaint, quiet little town, and it's nice. I really enjoy it, and I'm just kind of getting my life back together. So, to what I was talking about with why the page was created was every day someone calls me, a friend calls me, and they ask, "Hey, man, I've got this going on in my life. What should I do? What do you think I should do? What is your experience?" And I never really put anything like together. Like, man, maybe I could do this as a career, or maybe I could really help people with this. So one day I was with a buddy, and he had something going on, man. It was like a relationship issue, with some substance abuse tied in there. And he just asked me, what I should do. And so I just kind of broke it down for him. And, he was just like, whoa, man, I've never had that put to me the way that you just told me. He said, you should start a YouTube channel. And I really didn't think about it until I got home. And I just was like, wow, maybe I could. Maybe this is what like my calling is. Because like I said, these last 13 months, I've really struggled with like finding a purpose, what I'm going to do. And like I said, later in the stream, I'll explain kind of what has happened to me these last 13 months. And so that's just really why I decided to create the stream is, to help other people in using my experiences. So I'm going to just note, I am not a doctor. I don't have MD at the beginning of my name. I'm not a licensed therapist or a licensed social worker. I'm not even a peer support specialist. I am just using my personal experience to help others. Okay. And you're probably thinking like, what does this dude, have in life experience that he can help me? And I get that, I completely understand that. And that's why I'm just going to kind of dive into the second part. I'm going to kind of explain, I guess, my life story. And a lot of this I have not disclosed to people because this is personal, and it's embarrassing. Some things, and it makes me sad sometimes to think about the choices that I've made in my life, and where it took me to. Um, you know, but I'm doing it because I want to help somebody else. If this helps one person, then the goal was met and everything's good. So let's just start it out. I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, middle class family. Both parents worked really hard. Father owned his own business. My mom worked at Mutual of Omaha. I got a younger sister, so she's 2 years younger than me, and it was a grade below me. So we were in school together, throughout high school. Growing up, as soon as I, came into the world, my mom said that I kind of like went to the beat of my own drum. Basically, I didn't listen to anybody but myself, and I was going to do what I wanted. Um, Luckily my mom was really on top of things, and, they started like putting me, in like evaluations, and I was diagnosed with ADD and like some other behavioral health issues. And so I was seeing a child psychiatrist, by the age of 7 or 8. And that kind of carried through my life. I saw an adolescent psychiatrist, an adult psychiatrist. I'm seeing one now. I still see one. I think the only period of time that I didn't see one when I was in the military. Growing up, I lived in District 66, which is the West Side high school school system. I lived in a great neighborhood. Um, just kind of normal, middle class Omaha white kid, and had everything that we needed, and just a great family, a lot of love. Just pretty normal to me. Now the problems for me kind of started. I just didn't like myself. I didn't like who I was. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to impress people. So I lie all the time about things that I really didn't even need to lie about. And that kind of just carried through with me, into high school. I remember doing it in high school, just lying about stuff that just wasn't true, because I wanted people to like me. And, for the longest time, I really couldn't figure out, why I was like that or why I did it. It was almost like I was a compulsive liar, and I honestly like couldn't stop. So, that was like some of the stuff I was dealing with, like also relationship issues. Like I had kind of became codependent, and I was in a lot of relationships through high school, a lot of them very unhealthy, mainly because of myself, and I kind of get to why. So junior and senior year, I had my first drink. We were at my parents' house. They've got a cabinet in the kitchen where there's liquor. It was Bacardi Gold, I believe, was the first drink we had. And when I had that drink, all of my worries and pain and, wanting to belong, that all just kind of melted away. And I felt like I had arrived. Now, like you're gonna hear that saying, like if you go to like a 12-step meeting, AA, like people are gonna say that, like I have arrived, and to me, what that meant was I have found my purpose. Like I have finally found what is gonna make me comfortable in my own skin, and what is gonna solve all my problems. So I had arrived at that point. And little did I know that that one drink was going to turn into, you know, 15 plus years of misery. Um, I smoked a little bit of weed. I think there's like one summer where I was smoking a ton of weed. And then after that, it was just mainly drinking. At this point, alcohol was my best friend. I was still dealing with relationship issues, unhealthy. I was a bad boyfriend. Um, you know, Cheated a lot, lied a lot, wasn't very respectful, just a douchebag. And, I just kind of like started to isolate and was alone. Now, some of you may remember, it was my senior year. I got into like some big trouble. Like I was actually on the news, and I remember coming back to school the following week, and everyone was like looking at me. And I really didn't care because I was probably drunk or high. So, that right there just kind of started what was going to kind of like follow me the rest of my life, up until this point. So, I eventually graduated high school. They kind of pushed me through. Luckily, I got my diploma. Because of that incident, I was forced to go into rehab. So I went to like a little celebrity rehab out in Michigan, Battle Creek, Michigan. I was there for 6 months. I came home, stayed sober for like 8 months, and then I relapsed. During this time, like it was kind of like last resort. We tried to get me into the military. So like during this time, Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan was popping off. Like it was getting real hot, and Bush we really needed a lot of people. So like there was waivers and stuff passed, but because of my incident, like the Navy wouldn't take me, Air Force wouldn't take me, other branches wouldn't take me. And at first, the Marine Corps said they wouldn't take me. So actually, I got sent to another rehab out in Palm Springs, California, and it was called Narcanon. Now they've got like commercials now. Personally, don't go there. I mean, I'm telling you, don't go there. It's yeah. So while I was there, it was like my first couple of weeks. It was really nice. I mean, just like the last place I was at, it was really, really nice. And my dad called me and he said, "Hey, Chris," he said, "you got to come home right now." He said, "The recruiter called. He said he can get you in." He said, "But you have to come home now." So I caught a flight out of Los Angeles, got home, was there the next morning. Um, I swore in, and the next day I was on a plane to Chicago and then to San Diego when I was in boot camp. I'm not going to get into detail on my military career because that doesn't really matter. The thing is, I drank. I drank all my military career, and alcoholism is rampant in the Marine Corps. It's just rampant in the military. But the thing is, admitting you're an alcoholic. That's a no-no. You don't do that. If you're an alcoholic, you just keep it in the shadows. You blend in. Now it might be different today, but when I was in like 2006 in that era, you didn't admit stuff like that. And yeah, so I just continued to drink and my drinking got worse. And now the thing about addiction is it's a progressive disease. And what I mean by that is it never gets better. It just continues to get worse. So you could be drinking in an active addiction for a couple of years and then get sober for a year. Well, the point that you stop drinking, that's where it stays. Okay. So now a year later, when you start drinking again, it goes right back to where you left off, but then it pretty much speeds up and catches to where you are, and then it surpasses that and it gets worse. So it'll never ever get better. So there's like people that have this misconception that if I stop drinking now, so like I'm better. Wrong. And that's why you see like people that start drinking at a young age, and then like when they get to their 40s and 50s, they just look super haggard. Like they die young, because it is so progressive. So my alcoholism was pretty bad at this point. Well, when I got out, it was the worst that it had ever been. I was going through withdrawal, like hallucinations, violently shaking, vomiting, hot and cold sweats. I mean, it was horrible. Because I was a binge drinker, and the difference between a binge drinker and an everyday alcoholic is a binge drinker will drink, maybe hard for like maybe 4 or 5 days and then stop. And then he might stop drinking for a couple weeks, but then he'll go on another bender. And you just keep doing that. Now, like an everyday drinker, they can drink every single day. Okay. But they're drinking smaller amounts. A binge drinker usually just goes balls to the wall, like down in like 1.75 liters, just getting nuts. I was off the wall. Nobody wanted to be around me. And that is going to kind of lead to, I ended up becoming homeless because of it. My parents didn't want me around. Nobody wanted me around. My best friend across the street, I lived with them because of my alcoholism, and I was still lying about shit. He didn't want me around. And, there was a lot of broken relationships, a lot of mistrust. It took me extremely long time to gain back the trust of my family and friends. And I mean, there are friends that I used to have that I will never ever have again, just because the relationship was so damaged because of my addiction and alcoholism. And it's too bad, but I've gained a lot of friends since then. I get off topic a lot, so I'm going to try to stay on topic. But so at this point, like I'm homeless, but I'm also in and out of psych hospitals. Now, a lot of times people will go into a psych hospital because they do have legitimate problems. Whether it is like bipolar, having manic symptoms, and they go off their medication and they can't function, okay? Or like depression, like suicide, like attempts, things like that. I did have a couple of legit times where I went in, but most of the time I would go in because I had no place to go and I wanted to stay off the street. Okay, so I was in and out of psych wards. I had finally gotten attached to the VA, so I had free health care and I was going through VA rehabs. I was going through rehabs in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Des Moines, Iowa, Leavenworth, Kansas, Martinsburg, West Virginia, Perry Point, Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland, everywhere, Hot Springs. I mean, everywhere. I was just bouncing around to VAs, and I mean, really, it was never for the right reason. It was because I was trying to stay off the street and have a place to live. And in my mind, I thought, yeah, I'll eventually get it together and I'll be able to, you know, get my place back, get my car back, get my family back, get my friends back. But it never ended up being that way because I could never stop drinking or using. Now, I did get a little bit of sobriety and I did move back to Omaha and I was living with my dad, in the house I grew up in. And I was introduced to opiate pain medication. And that led me to other substances, uppers, downers. I wasn't really a hallucinogen guy because I had a bad experience in high school. I'll tell you about it sometime. It's kind of funny. It was at the Ranch Bowl when it was still there over on 72nd, I think, between Pacific and Center. Okay, yeah, I'm getting off topic again. But so, at that point, I was just out of control. And the thing was, like, I don't remember the point where my addiction had become, like, my drug addiction had become where you would classify yourself as an addict. I don't remember when it became that way because there was, like, for the first several months I could use and not go through withdrawal. I was completely fine. And I don't really remember the point where it had become where if I didn't use, I would go through withdrawal. I don't remember. A lot of my memories are very blurry. A lot of things I don't remember. But I was taking medication. I was blacking out. I was driving my car in blackouts. I would wake up in places I don't remember where I was. I woke up in the hospital a couple times, and they like told me how I got there. And they said I was a real asshole. People talking to me, I don't know who they are, and they're like, "Hey, you talked to me last night." And I was like, "I don't know who you are, dude." That's how bad it got. So I ended up becoming homeless again, running the streets. And eventually I kind of got it together and I moved to Kansas City and got everything back again, got my apartment, got a car, I had a girlfriend. Got everything back again, was starting to build up relationships with family and friends. Well, started using again, of course, and lost everything. So I came out to Baltimore, I came out to Maryland and tried it again. Unfortunately, I really wasn't informed about how Baltimore is. Baltimore is like the drug capital of the United States. There's like a population of about 700,000, and out of that 700,000, like 80 to 100,000 are drug addicts. That's like 10% of the population. That's terrible. And it was like, you could just walk anywhere and get drugs, to a street corner and just get drugs. Like anybody, you can get from anywhere. So I was like, shit, this was a terrible idea. So, my drug addiction just got worse and worse and worse. So I was like kind of bopping around from DC to West Virginia to Maryland. And like I said, I was homeless. So I was like trying to find a place to stay where I could just, have a roof over my head. I put in a consult to get into a treatment center. Basically what you do is you have your doctor put in a consult, then you'll get a call from the treatment facility and they'll ask you a bunch of questions to determine whether or not you are eligible for the program, whether you meet the requirements. And they said I did, but they said you got a 2-week wait. And so I was like, oh, shit. All right. So during that wait, I flew home. Actually, I flew to Indiana because my sister had her wedding, and I was at her wedding. It was a complete shit show. I embarrassed her. I embarrassed my whole family. I was just smashed. And that was the last time I ever drank. I woke up the next day and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And that was the last time I ever had to drink alcohol. But the problem was that the addiction was still there, and I was still using drugs. So I ended up finally getting to Martinsburg, and I finally kind of started to figure stuff out. So I went through treatment, and then I moved to Hagerstown and was in this awesome veterans transitional house. It's not there anymore, but it was super legit. And I eventually ended up getting my car back. I ended up getting an apartment, and of course, relapsed and was starting to slowly lose it all. I was in school, so I was getting some pretty good money, so I was able to kind of maintain a little bit longer than I normally used to. Now, I've never disclosed this to anyone that is not inside my circle, but the reason I'm going to say it is because I'm trying to help people and I want to relate to as many people as I can. I'm not going to tell you what exactly happened, but I got into some real serious trouble, and I went to prison. I got sentenced to 10 years. I appealed it, and they gave me 7. I appealed that, and then they gave me 5. My crime was a nonviolent crime, so you do 25% of your time. So I did 25%. I paroled immediately because I was considered a low class. It was a low class crime. I mean, a felony is a felony. I mean, that's bad. You don't want one. So, but prison, it saved my life. I honestly can say it saved my life, because weeks prior to getting arrested, I had probably overdosed at least 4 times in a couple weeks. And when you get to that point in your addiction, the only options are death, insane asylums, or, recovery. That's it. That's your only options. That's your only options. No, actually, no, it's jails, institutions, and death. That's really your option. But I always say recovery in there because that's your other option, to live. Luckily, I dodged death, super lucky. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't lucky. I would say in the last 10 years, I've probably lost over 20 to 30 really close friends. I lost 3 last year. That I'm talking people that I used to hang out with, that I would see face to face on a regular basis. People that I knew their families. And those are the ones that really hit you home and deep. Oh man, it's an emotional topic, but I'm gonna keep it together for my viewers. So yeah, and we're continuing to lose people. This is a losing battle. Same with mental health. So I got out of prison and I was paroled to Perry Point, VA. I went into treatment, and I got on the phone right away and I called my old sponsor. Shout out to my boy Tim Primlev Privatera, and I started putting in work. I started doing steps. I started being honest, and my life got better. I started mending relationships with friends. I started mending relationships with family. Building trust, that was still way far away. After I got out of treatment, I was supposed to parole home, but it didn't happen. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. ADD, yeah, it happens. So, man, I'm stuck. Okay, so I was supposed to go home back to Nebraska. That was the plan. It didn't happen. So I was kind of I don't have a backup plan. What am I going to do? And I fell into a hole. When that didn't happen, I didn't get out of bed or leave my room for a week. I was so depressed. I have to stay out here. I can't believe it. So I got lucky and I got into a program. It was a transitional program. and I stayed there for a year. So like I said, the last 13 months of my life, I was in this program before I moved into my own place. And now I'm like starting my life again, like normal life again. And while I was in there, I just kind of found myself, found out who I really was, the things I enjoy to do, the things I used to enjoy to do. And, things just got better. The relationships with my family, they drastically improved. Now everyone, I've gained trust back. My dad says I can come home anytime I want. you know, um, there's still some family members that I have to work on. But it takes time. 15 years of destruction, you can't expect to mend everything in a couple of years. It doesn't work that way. So, and you also have to realize, like, the way that your parents and your friends and your family are now is because of you. Like, your parents might be like sick in a way because of you. Like, I know my parents were up many nights worrying where I was, if I was dead. Like, the only time that they really, really felt comfortable is if I was in jail, because they knew exactly where I was and they knew that I was okay. And that's pretty messed up. But I see, the thing is, I didn't care. I didn't care about anybody but me. That's all I cared about. Um, until I went to prison, and I kind of started, like, I mean, that's all you have. The time is in prison. You have just time, endless amounts of time. And you just think about the mistakes you made, um, the the things that you're going to do in the future that are going to be better. Now, that's the thing. Like, you either walk the walk, or just be prepared to get on the merry-go-round of going into prison, getting out, going back into prison, getting out, and then eventually you're going to die. Some guys, they just catch that 20 to life sentence, and then they're just, yeah, they're done. Their life's pretty much over. I would not want to live if I caught that anyway. So, and that's the thing. Like, since I've been out, like, dudes I got out with, they're already back in, and like, they're going to be in for a long time. And it's too bad. So I just knew that when I left prison, I was never going back. I knew that I had to make a change. And I should really never say never, because we don't know, because an addict and an alcoholic are so unpredictable. Like, there is just no guarantees with them. I've known people that have had 20 years sober and then fell off the wagon, and then within a few years they were dead. And it happens every day. And that's one mistake I see people doing, is saying, yeah, I'll never drink again. I'll never use again. I'll never do this, that, and the third, yabba dabba do. And, you see these guys back in treatment. So, like, my roommate that I was with in this program, this last 13 months, came in, he was sober. Then he started drinking. He had a great job, making great money, lost his job, then went back out, and now he's already back in treatment. And you're going to see that a lot. But, I mean, just kind of winding this down, everything came together for me. I'm going to tell you that it was because of God, and because of AA, because of family, and because of really close friends, or else I wouldn't have been able to make it. Now, let's just kind of get to the topic of, what the mission of this, like, channel is for. So everyone on planet Earth is going through daily, everyday problems, whether it is relationship issues, unhealthy relationships, a lot of that going on, substance abuse, whether that is alcoholism or drug addiction, okay? Parenting issues. I cannot touch on that, and that's why I have John, because he is a parent and he was also married. I've never been married. I don't have kids. So I can't really relate to anybody on that. So John is going to be able to touch on things like that, and it's great to have him. So he can handle stuff like that, which is awesome. He's a legit dude. You guys will really, really like him. So, but yeah, make sure to look him up. His YouTube channel, like I said, Street Psychologist with Dr. J. I don't think it's up yet, but yeah. All right, so I'm getting sidetracked again. This is always happening to me. So where was I at? I don't even know why I'm asking. You can't respond, so I'm talking to a computer. Oh my gosh. Okay, so all right. So, everyday life issues, depression, suicide prevention. I mean, did you know that 22 veterans commit suicide a day? I mean, did you know that? I mean, that's wild. I mean, just the number of people that commit suicide a day is just insane. Mental health, that is a battle that we are drastically losing, including the drug addiction and alcoholism battle. It's almost a battle that is pretty much impossible to win. But I mean, we can make a dent in it by, making things known and getting things out there. That's what this channel is for. I want my community and my viewers to be interactive with this. I want people to ask questions. I want them to say, "Hey, Chris, this is what's going on, bro. What do you think?" And I'm not the only one that has to give suggestions. John can give suggestions. Other viewers can give suggestions. This is a community. I'm just spearheading this and trying to give it direction. And everyone has different life experiences and all can relate to different things better than others. That's just the way it is. So this channel is designed for people with everyday life problems and, going through them and then having them try to navigate them and get through them, and like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed therapist, not a licensed social worker. I'm just, regular Joe Blow who has lived a wild, crazy life, but is now got his shit together and is trying to make something of himself. That's me. That's my life right now. I still struggle on a daily basis with mental health. I would lie. I'd be lying if I said, that I didn't think about using, the other day, Drunk Inc. came on and I was like, damn, like I remember those days. I know I never want to go back to those days, but it's going to be hard. And the viewers that I'm speaking to, this isn't just for substance abuse. That's just a big part of my story. All right. So I talk about it a lot, but we can dive into any topic you want to talk about. If I can't relate to it, I'll find somebody that can. I will do anything I can to help somebody. If you call me at 4 o'clock in the morning and it's an emergency, I will answer the phone. I might not be happy about it, but I will talk to you. I will sit and listen. That's just the type of person I am. I will give the shoes off my feet and the shirt off my back if you don't got it. That's just the way I've always been. So, I really hope you guys enjoy this channel. Please subscribe, please like, please comment, please share. Let this be known, that this is going on. And, guys, I just really appreciate it. I hope you like the stream. It took me forever to figure this out, so I'm sorry the video and the stream started late. I was trying to add my intro video, but I couldn't figure it out. Next stream, we should figure it out. So the next episode we're gonna do a conjoined stream of me and John's, and it is going to be on. We've already decided it's going to be on grief and loss, and how to handle those things, and because everyone has somebody that they lose in their life, either a parent, a brother or sister, or a friend, whether it's from like cancer, substance abuse, suicide, or just an accident, like a car accident, things like that. So we're going to dive into that. And yeah, guys, so stay tuned. I will keep everyone updated. And guys, just love life. And just don't ever be afraid to ask for help, because I always say closed mouths don't get fed. Well, just ask for help. There's no shame in it. I just told my story to people that I don't even know. And really, I feel good about it. I'm glad that I did. All right. Anyways, guys, have a good weekend. Love y'all. See you later.